Within the vast canvas of the Anthropocene epoch, a heart-wrenching narrative unfolds, a tale of isolation and fragmentation. Among the myriad of organisms coexisting with humans, animals play a paramount role. Their crucial contributions to the intricate web of life, which nurtures our planet and sustains various biogeochemical cycles, underscore their indispensable role within the ecosystem. However, the question arises, what happens when they become entangled in corrupt human policies? Can they endure and adapt to the redefined habitats? How crucial are they to maintaining the natural balance of the world? Let us embark on a journey to explore the lives of these fragmented faunas. The carbon cycle is a natural process that involves continuous movement of carbon between the Earth's atmosphere, oceans, soil, and living organisms. It is a complex system where carbon undergoes various processes such as photosynthesis, respiration, decomposition, and combustion, regulating its flow throughout the planet. It travels through reservoirs like plants that act as both starting and endpoints for the processes that consist of the cycle. Through the natural engagement of these reservoirs, life is ultimately sustained.
This is when the carbon cycle remains in harmony or in a steady state. And animals, as carbon life forms, significantly help maintain this balance. They do so in many different ways. As animals naturally pass away or become food for predators, their bodies decompose. During this process, the carbon within the remains is incorporated into the soil, contributing to organic carbon. This crucially enhances soil health and fertility. The total weight of living animals, known as animal biomass, represents a significant carbon reservoir. Ecosystems with diverse and abundant animal populations, such as forests, can store substantial amounts of carbon within the living organisms. Animals are a crucial component of ecosystems, and their presence significantly impacts carbon storage. Biodiverse ecosystems tend to be more resilient and can maintain carbon equilibrium more effectively. Animals wield power to influence vegetation through various activities like grazing, browsing, and seed dispersal. These actions can lead to changes in plant species, composition, and vegetation structure, ultimately affecting carbon storage in both vegetation and soil. As fauna act as carbon storage, they contribute to the carbon sequestration process. This refers to the long-term storage of carbon dioxide in various forms to prevent its release into the atmosphere. Thus, fauna help reduce the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere by simply being there. However, certain creatures are ruining this process and threatening the roles of fauna. Humans.
In our rapidly changing world, human activities have profoundly impacted the environment and the animals that call it home. One key term that describes this impact is anthropogenic. Now let's move on to what anthropogenic means and how it affects animals and their habitats. Anthropogenic refers to human-induced environmental changes that set them apart from the natural processes. These changes often significantly affect ecosystems, wildlife, and our planet. To understand this better, let's explore some examples of anthropogenic effects on animals and their relationship with invasive species. Destruction of natural habitats. Clearing forests, wetlands, and other natural habitats for agriculture, urbanization, and industrial activities leads to the loss of critical habitats for many animals. This results in a decline in their population or even extinction.
Pollution, a threat to animals. Pollution in various forms such as air pollution, water pollution, and soil contamination have a negative impact on animals. Air pollution are usually caused by human activities like industrial emission and transportation, and this can harm animals' respiratory system. Compared to human respiratory system, animals have a much more sensitive respiratory system. Thus, animals living in cities or urban areas are more vulnerable to air pollution. Meanwhile, water pollution by chemical contaminants from industrial waste can contaminate aquatic ecosystems, causing fish population and other aquatic species to diminish. Moving on to the relationship of anthropogenic to invasive species, human activities like international trade and transportation have unintentionally introduced non-native species to new environments. Some of these species can become invasive, causing harm to local animals and ecosystems. Invasive species often outcompete native species for resources, leading to ecosystems imbalances and threatening local animal survival.
Now, as per every ecosystem, the presence of invasive species are not avoidable, though some of these species pose indirect risks within an ecosystem.
But with that information, what even are invasive species? Invasive species, also referred to as alien and exotic species, are species whether they are big or little, are living things with the potential to pose risks to the environment or the economy where the wildlife lives. But why do invasive species invade an ecosystem?
Well, for that, one of the reasons is the ability to outcompete native species with regards to the hunt for food. Thus, with this reason, this results to the dominance of invasive species within an ecosystem. Also, one of the possible reasons is the absence of no new predators within an ecosystem, thus leading to thus also leading for the invasive species to show dominance within an ecosystem. It is known that invasive species are known to damage an ecosystem, but they are also known to damage one property.
In connection to that, human activities like those involved in international trade and the pet trade are believed to be the most common ways for invasive plants, animals, microbes, and other species to spread to new habitat. Another reason these invasive species live in a new economy is migration.
Talking about new environments, of course, some species are brought or introduced to new environments on purpose. This being for two reasons. With the first reason being some species are used as or brought to new environments as a use for pest control strategy, for example on farms. The second reason is that some species, mainly exotic species, are used as pets of course, and some are used as decorative additions. Of course, with all this topic, for example, with all the species and organisms, humans or Homo sapiens in scientific terms also played an important role with this topic, invasive species.
Technically, that is correct. The invasion of other species has grown more dependent on modern humans or Homo sapiens in scientific terminology, due to their ability to colonize but the harshest ecosystem on Earth and their inclination to transform natural settings into agricultural and urban landscape, modern humans are among the most successful invading species.
As human activities continue to alter species interactions, the introduction of invasive species become a growing concern, reshaping ecosystem in unexpected ways. But have you ever wondered how they survive and are able to dominate any environment? The answer lies in the field of study known as epigenetics.
Epigenetics is the study of the modifications in gene expression or cellular phenotype of an organism without altering the DNA sequence. In simpler definition, it provides a way for cells to respond and adapt to the new environment. So, how does that work?
Epigenetics is mainly influenced by environmental condition and lifestyle choices, and it is heritable, offering a head start for offspring to adjust to the new environment. The environment they encounter triggers this modification within their genes, providing a unique adaptive strategy for survival.
We have three adaptive strategies, namely the phenotypic, plasticity, parental manipulation, and rapid adaptation.
Let's discuss first the phenotypic plasticity. Species that are high in this are flexible, which allow them to exploit a wide range of ecological niches and can overcome environmental challenges that native species may face, such as disease, predation and competition, habitat modification, etc.
In addition to that, it is mainly about adjusting their phenotype, physiological processes, development, or exhibiting different traits to match specific conditions in the environment.
Next is parental manipulation. Epigenetic processes also influence genetic expression, patterns, and reproductive outcomes. Maternal resources depends on whether expressed genes are derived from the mother or the father according to PSGE. While in parental manipulation, parents manipulate genes expression in embryos through sexual selection pressures on males. This tactic increases the chance of successful reproduction, which can aid in the growth of population and increase their chance of successful invasion.
Lastly, in rapid adaptation, epigenetic changes can be passed down between generations, offering a mechanism for rapid adaptation. Adaptive traits can be inherited by the offsprings of invasive species without alterations to the underlying DNA sequence due to epigenetic changes caused by the environment, which improves their fitness and survival.
The Anthropocene epoch represents the obvious influence of human actions on the climate and ecosystems of the Earth in this rapidly changing environment. Animals are essential components of the complex web of life on Earth and are critical to preserving their carbon cycle and environmental equilibrium. Their contributions to soil health, biodiversity, and carbon sequestration are essential to the world's health. However, this delicate balance has been upset by the corrupt actions of humans, which have resulted in the reduction in animal number and the spread of exotic species that endangered native species and ecosystems. Animals experience isolation and fragmentation the Anthropocene, which affects their survival and upsets the harmony of the environment. Human-induced changes like habitat degradation and invasive species pose serious problems despite their critical role in the carbon cycle and biodiversity. This info video is thus an essential call to everyone to understand the influence and to create a healthy future where animals and people cohabit peacefully through pushing great heights and harnessing perseverance in battling the threatening world we and our fragmented fauna now live